Just a couple of weeks ago, before Mass, I was standing out there greeting people, and a young man came walking in, and as he's walking towards the church doors, he's still looking out the windows. Maybe he was looking for somebody or waiting for someone, but he kept walking nonetheless, and as he's walking, he ran right into the door. Didn't hurt him, maybe his ego a little bit. He was kind of embarrassed, and probably because he knew that I had seen it, he said out loud to himself, "When are you going to ever learn to watch where you're going?" We've all done things like that. We forget to look where we're headed. We're looking somewhere else, meanwhile we're continuing to go this way. I found out this past week that there is now a new apparatus, a little device that was invented to prevent you from walking into doors. Yes, somebody had too much time on their hands. But it's a little device you put on your forehead, and it has sensors. So if you're walking along looking at your smartphone, maybe email or texting or something, the sensor notices if you're running into something, and it alerts you to stop it. Isn't that cool? What's really cool is the name of this little device. It's called the third eye. Just what we really need. It would be helpful to have a third eye sometimes so that we could see. But what would be even more helpful is if we would learn to use the eyes that we have. That we would learn to look at what we're supposed to be looking at. Where are you looking? What do we bother to put our focus on? And that is actually the theme of the Feast of the Holy Ascension of Jesus into heaven. Where are you looking? In that first passage from Acts of the Apostles, by the way, it's the very first verses of Acts of the Apostles, and then the Gospel is the very last verses of the Gospel of Mark. It's sort of like the handing on of the Gospel to the Acts of the Apostles, and that includes all of us. But in those opening verses, it tells the story of Jesus ascending into heaven, and the men of Galilee are standing there, the disciples. And then there are these two men dressed in white, probably angels, and they say, "Men of Galilee, why are you looking at the sky?" Which really is basically saying, where do we look with our faith? Do we spend all of our time just looking up? Where should we be looking? Then you jump to the gospel, because before Jesus leaves the earth, he gives what's called the Great Commission. He sends them forth and he says, "Go out to the whole world and preach the gospel to every creature." I just love that line, to every creature. Make sure that everybody gets to know the good news. So where should our faith have us looking? Oh yes, we do look to heaven because Jesus finished his ministry on earth and ascended to heaven. But we also look where Jesus tells us to look. Go to the whole world and share the gospel. And the word gospel really does mean good news. You've probably heard that somewhere through the years. But a particular type of good news. The word gospel means the good news of victory. Death has been conquered. Evil is overcome. There's a new way of living. That is what gives us hope instead of despair. We can go on. So share the good news with the whole world. I have learned over the years, especially in reading the lives of the saints, that something really incredible happens as a person draws closer and closer to the Lord. And they really immerse themselves into what Jesus is all about. It's almost like a bounce back, because then they become not just interested in godly things, but also in all of the concerns of the world. In other words, the more you come to know God, the more you know what God is interested in. And God is interested in people. God is love. We had that in the reading last week. God is love. And so we learn to love, and we have to live it. So if this is where the third eye really should come in, it's the eye of the Lord, that we start seeing people as Jesus would see people. That we start having the heart of Jesus, the compassion of Jesus. And if Jesus cared about people and was willing to go out of his way to help somebody and bring healing and listening and mercy and sometimes even challenge to those who are self-righteous, we need to be that way ourselves. Through the eye of Jesus, we see the world differently. We have to see it not just in our own concern, but this is our ministry. That's why the Feast of the Ascension is a profoundly a feast day for our people. It's, yes, Jesus ascends, but he passes on the baton to us. He gives us the torch. Now we have to carry the message. We have to have the eyes of Jesus. Now, in this building, when we built it a few years ago, we installed several security cameras. You probably have seen them. They're various places around the building. And the security cameras are sort of circular. They're white with the actual cameras in the middle. Most adults, if they notice it, they don't even pay attention anymore. But one of our younger people in the parish, I think he's about 3 years old, he has discovered those security cameras on the wall, and he thinks of them as eyeballs. And every week when he's in church, he says to Dad, "Can I go look at the eyes?" And he wants to look at the eyeballs of the church. And his dad says, he's not afraid of them. It's not like he thinks somebody's watching him. It's just he kind of like thinks that the church has eyes. Well, let me tell you, the church building has cameras. It does not have eyes. But the church, if the church is the people of God, which it is, yes, we do have eyes. And I have the eyes of the Lord. And we have to see as the Lord sees. Talk about a great commission. Go out. See as Jesus sees the world. And then do something about it.